What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday to you. It's Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. And this morning, I want to talk about how you know if you're open. How do you actually know if you're open? Are you an open person? Are you not an open person? We're going to talk about some of the ways that you can figure that out for yourself. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday for everybody that's just jumping on here. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to talk about a topic right now that I think that everybody probably deals with in some way, shape, or form, whether it's with yourself or whether it's with somebody else out there that might be a little bit closed off. But we're going to talk about how do you know if you're open? You know, how do you know if you're a person that comes across as an open person? You're open to feedback. You're open to growth. You're just an open person that's easy to talk to. How do you know? I think everybody has a desire to be that way, but are you actually an open person? And I think that sometimes in life, we can go from being an open person to a closed person, or an open person, easy to talk to someone that's difficult to talk to, or not a pretty closed off person as a result of things that actually happen in our lives, right? So sometimes life events kind of trigger things and make us change, and we might not even realize it, right? So we're going to talk about how do you know if you are actually an open person. I've got some things that I came up with this morning, kind of some indicators that I see, you know, in the way that people treat very open people versus the way that people treat people that are a little bit more closed off or a little bit more difficult to talk to. So that's what we're going to dig into this morning. But first, I want to start off, as always, by saying good morning to some folks. Dayton Packard, what's happening, brother? We got to connect soon, man. Give me a call when you're free sometime in the next couple of days, brother. I would love to catch up with you. Carla, good morning to you. Bob Bernard, good morning, brother. Cynthia, I'm sure you're there with Bob. Good morning to you, too. Jared Bird, what's happening? Mark Thibodeau, what's happening, brother? How are you, man? Good morning to you. Tammy Clark, good morning to you. My girl is always here, 4:30 a.m. Amazing. Trudy, good morning to you. Daniel Good is watching over on YouTube. Good morning to you, brother. Lynn, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. David Martin, good morning to you from good old Orlando. John Rugg, good morning to you. Cam Roberts, man, is another guy that's up and at 'em early this morning. And Scott Crawford, good morning to you too, man. Thank you guys for being here. And if you guys don't mind, man, click that share button this morning and share this out, because I think this is a message that will connect with a lot of people. I think it will give you a really good look at, you know, some people that you kind of feel like something's off with, and you can't figure out what that is. And, you know, I want you guys to know that one of the things that I have learned, you know, probably more recently than in any other period of my life, but like, you know, the recognition of things is the first step. And then the second step is, you know, really being willing to kind of embrace the conflict and tell people these things. You know, if you're an open person, you have to be not just open for people to talk to, but you also have to be open with the feedback that you give. And my buddy Glenn Lundy has a quote that I use all the time. He says, "To be clear is to be kind," right? And so, you know, I think that so many times we're worried about, you know, hurting someone's feelings or coming across the wrong way, that we don't deliver a message. And sometimes that message that we're not delivering is exactly what somebody needs to hear, because they may not even recognize that they're being a little closed off, or that they're being a certain way, or that they're coming across the way that they are. Now, some people don't really care how they come across, but for the most part of what I have found is that people are looking to be really open. They are looking to be helpful. And genuinely, most people are extremely kind-hearted, right? And so they don't really realize what's going on. Sometimes they lose their ability to have self-reflection because of something that happened in their life, whether it be a trauma or something happens, they lose their job, or whatever it may be. They kind of lose that ability to look at themselves the right way. And so how do you know if you're open is the question that we're looking to ask. And so I wrote a couple of things down this morning that I think are ways that we can all look at ourselves and say, you know, how are people treating me? How are people communicating with me? Are people looking at me in a way that is positive, that, you know, they believe that I'm open? There are some indicators that I believe will tell you that. And so one of those indicators is just to ask yourself this question: do you have a lot of people asking you for advice or guidance, or are people hesitant to ask you about, you know, for advice or guidance, or they're hesitant to ask you about certain things? When people are asking you for advice or guidance, it's usually an indicator that they feel like you will give them good information in return. You feel like they'll be open to listen to you, to be able to actually, first and foremost, understand what it is that you're asking them. And then secondly, be open enough and honest enough to be able to give you sound advice. So ask yourself that question: do you have a lot of people that are actually asking you for advice, that are talking to you about what's going on in their life? If you don't have those types of interactions, it may be an indicator that you're not quite as open as maybe you desire to be, or maybe you don't want to be. That's fine too. But if you're a person that's desiring to come across as an open person, you like to help people, then ask yourself that question: how often are people actually asking for your advice or guidance? And once you figure that out, once you figure out, like, if you start paying attention to this, just starting today, you know, how many people are calling in and asking you for help with work-related items, right? Like, you know, working with as many companies as I do and as many people as I do, what I find is that, you know, sometimes in companies, when there's a person that's pretty closed off, people will literally go to any length they have to navigate around that person because they'd rather talk to a person that's a little more open, a little more warm, a little more welcoming than the person that's a little more closed off and critical and things like that. So just ask yourself that question: are a lot of people coming to you for advice or guidance? It's a positive indicator, if they are, that you are probably an open person, that you're coming across as warm and helpful and all those kinds of things. The second question that I have here is, do you find that people stay talking to you for an extended period of time, or are people typically looking to get out of the conversations that you're having with them? Think about that, right? If you have somebody that's always looking to, if people are always looking to get off the phone with you quick, that's probably an indicator that, you know, you're not a person that people really enjoy talking to, versus somebody that could talk to you for hours, right? And it just is a great conversation, and everybody leaves the conversation feeling more energized, both you and the person on the other end. And that is really what you're looking for. And so if people are generally quick to end a conversation with you, that's an indicator that maybe you're not so open, or maybe you're not so warm in that conversation. So just look at that. You know, how long do people stay talking to you, and what are the conditions that are making them kind of depart the conversation? Versus, are you having, you know, pretty lengthy and in-depth and meaningful conversations with people on a regular basis? And if you are, then that's the sign of you being open and warm and all the things that typically I find people are looking to have in their personality traits, right? And the last question that I wrote down here is related to how people interact with you, like with regard to, do they actually give you feedback about how you can be better, or are they hesitant to tell you things? You know, do people hold back, or are they pretty open with the way that, you know, you can be better, or the way that you can improve, or just kind of telling you things about yourself? Because if somebody is always, you know, kind of navigating around conversations with you, it's probably an indicator that you're not a really open person, right? That you're not, you know, you're not open to that feedback, or that's the way that you come across. You know, I've been in so many different situations where, whether it's a business owner or a leader, or whatever it may be, they tend to surround themselves with people that tell them what they want to hear. And there's nothing more dangerous, right, than creating that echo chamber for yourself. And you can turn into a person that is not open without even knowing it, because so many people are just telling you what you want to hear. And so ask yourself that question. Are people giving you feedback about how you can be better, kind of where things stand and where they see that you could do a little bit better? And if they are giving you that feedback, that's a great indicator that you're coming across as an open person. And if you're not receiving any of that feedback, if you're only being told, how great you are or what you do well, that is an indicator that in some way, shape, or form, again, it may not be, a totally negative thing, like you're not a negative person, but people are a little hesitant to tell you that feedback. And so you have to be massively open as a person, as a leader. If you're in that leadership position, you have to ask a lot, and you have to really come across as a very open person for people to give you that feedback, right? In any aspect of life, you have to be open to receive feedback. But if you're in a leadership position, that is significantly more important for you to recognize, because people are typically hesitant to tell someone in a leadership position, in a superior position, that they're doing something wrong, unless you are an extremely open person that encourages it and welcomes it on a regular basis. And so I want you to think about that. If you're within a business, what does that culture look like? Is it a culture of openness? Is it a culture of open communication? And are people, open to receiving that feedback? I think it's a really important thing for us to recognize just how different a relationship is, whether it's a friendship or a marriage or a business relationship, when those relationships are open. There's open communication. Everyone feels comfortable talking about whatever it may be. And that's, in my experience, that's how you build super productive situations, super beneficial friendships and relationships, is by everybody kind of feeling like everyone involved there is open. And so how do you know if you are one of those people? And I think that these questions are a great start, right? Just kind of asking yourself, are a lot of people asking me for advice or guidance, or are they going somewhere else? Are people comfortable staying in conversations with me, or are they always kind of checking their watch or checking their phone, looking to get out of that conversation? And last but not least, how are people with giving you feedback? And this could be, your spouse. There was a period of time where I had to work on this with Lori, like making sure that she understood, like, I want to know, if there's something that I'm doing in our marriage that is not, up to exceeding her expectations. I want to know that, right? And you have to ask a lot of times, sometimes, to get somebody to tell you that, because you may be coming across as not open, and you don't intend to, but perception is reality, right? It doesn't matter how you intend to come across. It matters how people perceive it, right? And if people are constantly perceiving you as a person that's not open, it is probably accurate, right? There's something that you're doing, and you need to figure that out so that you can correct it. And so those are a couple ways that I constantly evaluate people, and I want to look at, kind of how open are they? And, for me, when we're looking at whether I'm coaching a company or it's people within our own organization or just people in my life, I'm always kind of looking to be around people that are open, that are really open to feedback, that are open to looking to get better. It just makes for a really enjoyable environment. I think that everybody probably has that friend that they can confide in. And when you have that friend and you can communicate and you can tell people how you feel, and then they tell you how they feel, I think it just makes for a great relationship. And it doesn't matter, again, if it's a friendship or a business relationship or in your marriage. Having those open communication lines is super important to, taking any relationship to the next level. So that is my tips for this morning, guys. That's my perspective this morning. I hope it was helpful for somebody, and I hope that, it just makes you think, no matter how open we are, we can always, do a better job. We can always be more open. And so I hope that this, gave you something to think about this morning. And as you go into your Wednesday here, you can look at, every individual relationship, every interaction you have, and how open are you to those things. So appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you checking in, all the comments, all the shares. Thank you guys. And I will see you tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.